welcome to all of you faith processors, young and old, in the room, and welcome to all of you out there that are processing your faith. My name is Harry Jarrett. I'm the pastor here at Pleasant Valley Church of the Brethren, and this is Faith in Process. Sunday's Cool. It's a podcast, a live podcast in the form of a Sunday school class. We have an incredible guest here today, Lonnie Yoder. Lonnie was a professor of mine. We've known each other for many, many years. What a lot of people don't know about you, unless I tell them, is that Lonnie served as sort of my spiritual director, counselor, while I was in crisis and having some conflict issues at a congregation, and you helped me navigate through all of that stuff. And not that we're going to really be talking about all of that, but Lonnie has been a support and a counselor to me for many, many years, taught me some awesome things at Eastern Mennonite Seminary about pastoral care and pastoral counseling, which is different than counseling. Might get into that. Who knows where the conversation's going? But I've invited him to come and share a little bit. And so, Lonnie, if you just introduce yourself a little bit, some of your background, pastorally, teaching, personally, church going, all of those kinds of things. And then you sent me a paper about signs of hope, 11 signs of hope, and some things that we could maybe consider doing more of in church that might make church life and faith more relevant, more vital in the age that we live in. So we're going to kind of chat a little bit about that, and then we'll do that for about 25 minutes or so, okay? And then we're going to give y'all the opportunity to ask any questions and to engage with Lonnie or myself about some of the things we're talking about. Okay, so it's not a Bible study, but it's a faith conversation. So Lonnie, if you do just introduce yourself and
Sure.
We'll go from there.
First of all, it's really good to be here. Really appreciate this opportunity. When I'm asked to introduce myself, I often, and I will discipline myself not to go here very far, but I often say I am more than my life. I am a product of my ancestors.
Okay.
So I'm a product of my great-great-grandfather, for example, who was an Old Order Amish bishop. I'm a product of another great-grandfather who was a member of a Christian communal society in Iowa called the Amana Society. He left that at the age of 18 for 2 years, which was a big deal for him. Came back, spent 2 more years in that communal society, and then at the age of 22 left again. So I have one grandfather who was a bishop and one grandfather who was kind of off the rails, so to speak.
Off the beaten path.
Yes.
A heretic? No, not a heretic.
No, he ended up back in the church.
Okay, in the fold. Okay.
Actually became a Mennonite.
Oh, well.
There you go.
There you go.
So yeah, I'm a product of the Midwest, born and raised on a small farm, rural, very kind of cocoon-like Mennonite experience until I went away to college, and my world just got bigger all of a sudden. I was a math major, secondary education, was planning to become a math teacher when during my senior year of college, my home church came to me and said, "We want to hire a youth pastor, and would you be open to doing that?"
And of course, a math degree qualifies
It
you
does.
to be a youth. Almost anything qualifies people to be a youth pastor.
Right. So my life shifted at that point, and so for 12 years, I was a youth pastor and assistant pastor in my home congregation. Great experience, challenging experience, ended very painfully. What am I going to do? Age of 32, kind of like an early midlife crisis. What am I going to do with my life? I ended up doing a doctoral program in religion and personality at the University of Iowa. Graduated there, and there was an opening at Eastern Mennonite Seminary in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I'd only been here one time in my life. But I applied for the job, got it, spent 30 years teaching in the seminary. I taught for 3 years in the Master of Arts in Counseling program, its first 3 years. So I did that, great experience. I've done some things on the side as I've been a pastor. As you mentioned, I interacted with you around some of the challenges you were facing. That was pretty common. I was a consultant to area churches.
You mean I wasn't special? I thought I was special.
Area churches and pastors and all kinds of situations. And so I did that for 15 years. I've done interim pastoral work. I enjoy that. Currently, I'm retired in 2021 and in the midst of the pandemic. I work although this week I worked 3 days at the Hardesty Higgins Visitor Center in downtown
that's a fun
Harrisonburg,
place.
interacting with people who come through the doors, and that is,
I think I saw you
Yes.
one time when I was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were volunteering or something.
No,
or
I get paid.
You get paid. Okay.
A lot.
That's good.
A lot. No, not a lot. So I jokingly said when I took that job, now I'll be able to test what I've been teaching for 30 years. Does it make any sense at all? I'm interacting with people.
Right.
That's become true. I mean, you would be amazed at the number of people with some kind of need who come through the door.
I would not be surprised. I would not.
It happens.
Being in the hotel business.
Yeah.
And, hospitality and all that goes along with that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So that's my life in a.
That's your life in a nutshell,
yeah.
right? Well, thank you for that. So now you're retired, but you're also doing some writing. People are asking you to write things for journals and magazines, and you've done some of that in the past.
Yeah.
But when I reached out to you to come on the podcast, I asked you, what are you writing? What are you thinking about? What's important to you within the faith community, within your life? What do you think is important that we might, talk about? And you sent me a paper that's not yet published, right?
No, it is published.
It is published. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's a published paper called Signs of Hope, right? Mm-hmm. And where's it published?
It's published in Leader Magazine, which is Mennonite Church USA publication.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was going to be published.
No, they had an issue.
So we can talk about it freely.
They were planning for an issue called Reimagining the Church or the Life of the Church. And they asked me whether I would write a short article giving my perspectives about what the future of the church looks like and where we might go.
And it's a definitive work, right? I mean,
yes, it's
if we follow it, we know that we're gonna be successful, right? All right. Well, so go ahead and just briefly summarize that, and then I have one of those.
One of the 11.
Huh? One of the 11.
Okay.
That I have a question about, and that's where the conversation is going to go after that.
I will be really fascinated to know which of the 11 you chose.
All right.
But anyway.
I don't think you'll be surprised, no, if you know me.
So, when I was asked to write this article, I said, yeah, this. One of my colleagues, you'll remember her, Dorothy Jean Weaver.
Oh,
she
yes.
would say, when an invitation came, she would say, in your discernment about whether to accept or not, ask the question, does it have my name on it? Which was her metaphor for, is it for me?
Right.
Well, this invitation had my name on it. In fact, after I received the invitation, I was told, you have 3 or 4 months to write the article. Here's the date it needs to be submitted. 2 weeks later, I submitted it.
Mm-hmm. Because
I sat down and I said, okay, what would I want to say? And I made a kind of bullet point list. And then I sat down at the computer, and in an hour I wrote it.
Wow.
It just came together, and I sent it off, and the editor said, wow, you got this in time. And I said, it was waiting to be birthed.
Right.
It was waiting to be birthed. I framed the article during the pandemic. We were talking before this began about my reconnecting with my home congregation in Iowa. And one of the things in their worship service during the pandemic was a segment called Signs of Hope, where people in the congregation were invited to submit photos that they had taken that week.
And this is during the online service?
Yes,
right?
during the online
This is
service.
when we were live streaming,
Yep.
and nobody was
Yep.
going to church, in churches.
And someone would take and put, say, 2-3 dozen photos, set it to music, usually a Christian song of some kind, not always, sometimes kind of a popular song. And then in the service, it's now time for Signs of Hope. And for me, as someone who was really struggling during the pandemic, that was a lifeline. They still do Signs of Hope to this day, even though they're back in person and they have a Signs of Hope every Sunday. Well, not every Sunday, sometimes every other Sunday. So that framed the article for me. I say in the article that there were 3 kinds of photos that appeared frequently. Photos of children, photos that had to do with kind of life events like birthdays and wedding anniversaries and sometimes deaths of people in the congregation, and nature photos. And I would say that continues to this day in their Signs of Hope. Those 3 get a lot of attention.
Okay.
So I'm ready to hear which of the 11.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm really into theopoetics right now.
So I heard your Scott Collins.
Okay.
So I've heard that.
My background is I studied as an actor before coming to faith and getting married, and then my whole trek in pastoral ministry. So I was very artsy-fartsy, okay? And then before my burnout, which was about 13 years ago when I was pastoring, was very much into the emergent church, emergent village, and the recapturing of art and poetry and tangible expressions of faith and expressions of responses to faith, okay? So in this, one of the things that you talked about, you framed it more of this and less of that, okay? So one of them was that you're saying that for the church to really become more relevant and vital now and nurture and feed the spirituality of folks, young and old, that there needs to be more artistic and less scientific, right? And so you said congregational life and its leadership involve both art and science. We've tended to focus more on the scientific examples of theology and proposition, carefully crafted programming, either generated internally or introduced as a solution from the outside, right? So applying paradigms from one place to the other, because that's going to create church growth, right?
Yep.
Which everybody's worried about right now. And so your question is, how might your congregation draw upon the artistic, art, music, theater, poetry, dance, symbol, metaphor, which all are kind of in the stream of theopoetics, right, et cetera, as its crafts for the future? So that was your question, but that's not my question.
Okay.
Okay? So it's not a how-to, and it's not, but why do you feel like that deserves a place in one of the 11 first off? What is it about that you feel like that if we have more of that and less of the other, then we are going to be more relevant and vital? What is the nature of more artistic that makes it, even worth writing about?
I would say that in general, the artistic brings a kind of energy that the scientific or propositional, if you will, in the church. Well, the scientific or propositional kind of systematic theology, let's say, has its own energy. It really needs something more than that. And I think the artistic does that. The artistic invites us to draw on parts of who we are that are not called on with the scientific propositional.
Okay. So, I knew I was going to ask this question. I didn't know what you were going to answer, but here's my dilemma, and it always has been my dilemma in the church, relating with different kinds of people. And I hate to frame it. I don't think it's a gender issue, but there are people, and sometimes it is a gender thing, but there are people in the church, some of which are artsy-fartsy, and some of them that are not, right? There's and different people get fed in different ways. So, for example, I'm a guy who would prefer to go to the theater or go to a music event than watch sports. All right, and so a lot of times I think that what we bring into let's just say in a church worship setting or in how we do things, I think that there's that tension of what kind of artistic is going to be palatable or helpful for everyone, or is there any way of that to happen? So what are do you have any thoughts on that? And saying the artistic, and I totally agree with it, but I'm an artsy person, right? And there's people that are sports people, even in this room, right? That are like, oh my gosh, if I have to walk up in front of the whole congregation and mold some clay as a faith expression, I'm just going to die. This is not going to work. But if I would set up like a basketball gym, which I would say could be an artistic expression of setting up a basketball hoop in the church, which may be cool, right? And saying, hey, look, when you hear something that you really like in church, I want you to come up and grab the ball and shoot a hoop, right? That's artistic, but it also ties into, I think, a different kind of art. And so I know this is a surprise question to you, but do you have any thoughts on that and fleshing this out of if we're going to go more artistic, what are we talking about here? And if we're going to go less propositional, what are we talking about there? So can you flesh it out in a way that it's IRL, it hits the road?
Well, a kind of general statement in response is that I think the artistic engagement or response has to be contextualized. And by that I mean it needs to be relevant to the local situation. In other words, probably in rural Virginia, the opera is, probably not going to be hit it, but maybe bluegrass music will.
Right.
So I think something very contextual that connects with the lived experience. I'm remembering the year we lived in Jamaica.
So don't bring Les Mis to Weir's Cave.
Yes, right,
Okay.
right. The year that we lived in Jamaica on one of my sabbaticals, we were involved in leadership development for Jamaica Mennonite churches. And, I think about worship. Every worship service has a liturgy, whether you know what it is or not. And so what is that liturgy, and does it have energy? Does it make sense? Does it incorporate? At the beginning of this article that I wrote, scroll back.
You don't remember what you said?
No, I have a verse.
Oh, you have, okay.
Therefore, every scribe who has become a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like the master of a household who brings out of his treasure what is new and what is old. So, I think the artistic, given the kind of our history in the church, invites the new, because the old, it tends to be the propositional, and teaching of the scripture and study of the scripture,
Right.
Which is, that's why I say more than, not eliminating.
Not
them.
eliminating.
And they're not in conflict with one another. They need to be in
sync and harmony.
in sync.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right, because I mean, one of the reason that this is not a Bible study is because I think there's plenty of that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go up on stage here in the sanctuary, and I'm going to do 15, 18-minute Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
We call that preaching when it's like
Yep.
that. And I'm going to talk about the 4 different scriptures and how that relates to reconciliation and the love feast and foot washing and communion. So in doing this, I was like, I don't want to do another Bible study.
Yeah.
Why would somebody want to hear 2 Bible studies from me on the same day? I mean, half of them don't want to hear one probably. Mm-hmm. But and then I thought, well, having my theater background, I thought, well, it's kind of like, this is a little bit like performance art, right? You don't have to prepare. You can come, you can chill, you can even bring your kids, apparently. And, it can be enjoyable and fun and entertaining, which really means engaging, right? And conversational. And so that's kind of where, before I even read this, mm-hmm. I was, I think, intuiting that this is somewhere that I would like to explore and go. So we are now about 25 minutes in.
Okay.
And so I try to maintain a rhythm, which is really cool. Also, just note, all this background music is complimentary.
I thought the same.
People have to spend hours and hours finding the appropriate background music for podcasts, and we just got it, right? Is it bothering you? No. Okay. All right. So we're going to move to what will be a question and answer time. Comments too. So I don't know whether y'all have any thoughts, comments, reflections on this conversation at all. If not, we'll just kind of keep talking. But what are your thoughts? What are your questions about any of this?
I'm curious, what were the other 11 things that you were talking about?
Okay, well, now that it's published, I will post it on my Substack.
I my email to see if
You will get it here shortly. Okay. This week. More nimble than solid, assembly line like. All right. More networking and partnering than clear, demarcated sense of congregational identity. More iteration and evolution than stability and permanence. More permeable than clearly bounded edges.
You may get in trouble reading the next one.
Yes. I have to edit this out. More DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion than power, privilege, or the lack thereof. More intergenerational. Hey, we hit that on the head today.
Yeah.
From very, very old to very, very young today. Then generational, more artistic than scientific, more organic than scripted, which
similar to the artistic.
More parable-like than catechesis.
Another example.
Yeah. Interestingly, Scott Holland wrote a book called How Stories Save Us, and which is very, very cool. More playful than serious, more curious than certainty, more genuine grieving, which I think is very, very essential these days, than denial of our losses, especially as we come out of the pandemic. That was the last one. So So a lot there. I'll make sure that link is on the Substack some way or the other,
Yeah.
so that you can actually read the paper. So those were the ones. What are anything spark a question?
Not really spark a question, but just seeing how it's working here, I feel like a lot of those are hitting the nail on the head.
Good.
Yeah. Like
Good.
organic conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's surprising how much this format is pulling some of those threads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
I think we're as the church, broadly speaking, are in a unique time. We have benefited from tradition, and there's much in tradition that's rich and helpful and useful. But as someone once said, the faith generationally has to be rebirthed every generation. Mm-hmm. So how does that happen? I was very intentional about choosing that verse because it's like a householder that chooses both old and new, drawing from both. And back to the artistic, you may or may not be surprised, I tend to be more in terms of my nature, propositional. So I'm not particularly artistic, but I need to develop that muscle.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The granddaughter who's very artistic, and I just love her gift and creativity. Mm-hmm. At my work that I talked about, we were all given a pumpkin that we're supposed to decorate for Halloween. And I immediately went to my granddaughter and said, would you help me decorate this pumpkin? And she's going to do it. We'll probably work on it this afternoon.
Oh, cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
But even though the artistic is not my strength personally, I recognize my need to incorporate that and do find meaningful ways to do that. I want to go back to the Jamaica experience because I was going to talk about something in their worship that I experienced early on and then throughout the time there. Their worship services are highly energetic compared to ours here, okay?
Yes.
Highly energetic. And so in the first month that we were there, we were experiencing worship, and I was thinking, this is really lots of energy. And then the woman leading the music said, and now we will sing some lively choruses.
Oh, my.
And it was like, what?
What? I thought that was lively.
Can the energy even be ramped up more? And it was. And so we sang these lively choruses throughout our time there in worship. And I finally said, there's something here that I want to capture and think about and reflect on. So our older daughter and me, all of the lyrics to these lively choruses are oral. They're not written down.
Yeah, they just know.
They just know.
They learn them.
So we wrote down the lyrics. I came back after the sabbatical was over, did it's called Grounded Theory Research of the lyrics of these, and drew kind of out the embedded theology that was in these choruses. Uh-huh. And sure enough, I think these choruses touch at the heart of their understanding of the Christian faith. And lively choruses. And
you like that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, Mennonite brethren are not. I don't know if anyone could characterize us as lively. Maybe alive, but not lively. Yeah, going back to kind of the conversation more or less. There's this, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher it, but there's some sort of quote that tradition is the living faith of your ancestors, and traditionalism is your ancestors' dead faith. Something like that. Mm-hmm. I'll have to research it because I don't remember exactly. But it's that idea that tradition is a good thing as long as it doesn't become traditionalism and sort of dead, just sort of not relevant, not vital. And so I think that there's always that tension of trying to, not devalue the old just because it's old, but, what's there that's valuable that we need to lift up, which is kind of what the emergent church movement did. Taking a lot of that liturgy and lectio divina and, spiritual disciplines and elevating those kinds of things, remembering those kinds of things, because people were finding new meaning in that, but they were also like building kitchens on stages and things like that we were doing, or putting up basketball goals, hoops in the church, which I personally think would be quite cool. Forrest, what do you think?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Was that okay? So I am going to have. Maybe we can get one of the little ones so the kids can do it too, right? And put it up there and have a faith station where you can dunk hoops. When you're feeling the presence of God, you come up and just dunk it. Slam dunk, exactly. That could be your amen. All right. Well, do y'all have any other comments or questions or anything? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. For sure. Really appreciate y'all being here. Hopefully it was fun. And Lonnie, thank you, really, for coming out and taking the time and sharing your experience and your wisdom. So.
Yeah. One of the fun things, and I want to compliment you on doing what you're doing with this podcast, because it is new in some sense.
I actually came up with the idea of podcasts. I just never did one.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but it was actually originally my idea, and then I was like, no. But
Yeah. No, I think, part of being nimble, the very first thing I put was being nimble.
Well, it's fun. I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
We'll see how it continues, but.
Yeah, and I'll try to continue to listen. I listened to Scott last week,
All
and
right. Well, I appreciate that.
We'll see who you bring in, and.
Well, next week we're doing our congregational business meeting.
Okay.
So next week there won't be the podcast or the Sunday school class. On the 19th, I'm bringing in Audrey Zay, who is a Theopoet graduate from Bethany Theological Seminary. She's written a book of poetry. She's a young adult. And so she's going to be coming in digitally, and then Scott's coming back. One of the guys at kind of Millard Driver, who this idea sort of generated through conversations with him. He'll be coming back. So there's a number of folks that I'm trying to get. So if you happen to know anybody,
Okay.
kind of the criteria is that if you have something in written form that you are already accountable for, right? Because some people are, I was originally, I don't know that as a pastor, I don't know that I would have done this before, because, what happens if you say something and then what, right? So there is that risk.
There is risk,
right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
one of the consultants that I was having conversations with about this said, you might be having trouble. You might have trouble getting people to come on the podcast unless they already have something that you'll talk about, that they're already accountable for, that's written or published or out there somewhere, so that then you can leapfrog from that to whatever conversation, and whatever they say, right? So that's kind of the criteria that I'm working at this point, is if you have something written that I can put on the Substack or send people to, that you already said and you're already okay with being accountable for, then hopefully you won't be worried about talking about it more, and it also helps draw people to that work.
So I have a question. This kind of ties together what we've talked about today.
All right.
So you said next week you're having your congregational business meeting.
We are.
How could you make that more artistic?
Oh, there's just no way. No.
Well, Well, here's
That's
one
a
thought.
good question.
Here's
That's a
one
good
thought.
challenge.
Here's one thought that kind of came to me. The question popped up, and I thought,
Basketball
well,
hoop.
how would I answer it? My answer would be embodiment.
Embodiment?
Yeah. In other words, often in congregational business meetings, you make decisions or you discuss important topics.
Budgets and
Yeah. Is there a way that you can have people move around or position themselves in the room with respect to whatever you're doing?
Sort of like alignment to
Yeah, yeah.
thoughts.
I remember in our congregation when we were wrestling with what Mennonite conference we were going to be affiliated with. Big discussion.
Yeah. That's a big discussion.
One member of the congregation who had a lot of training in that area did an exercise where she invited us. She was at the front of the sanctuary, and she said, okay, with respect to the conference that we're in now, position yourselves down the side aisles. On the right side over here, if you're very invested in the current conference, position yourself over here. If you're less invested, over here. And amazingly, we created a kind of U shape, a U shape. And then she
Bell
had,
curve kind of thing.
so I was over here because I was deeply invested in the conference. She said, come across through the pews and meet people from the opposite and talk to them about
how you're feeling about it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was a powerful experience.
That's very
that was to me
very risky.
Artistic.
Yeah.
We sometimes do that by just saying break up into small groups and talk about this or about that. But that was an embodiment exercise because we had to kind of put our bodies on the line, so to speak, and
Great suggestion.
led to conversation. But I mean, think about it.
Sure. Well, I will embody that and see what comes. All right. Well, thanks again for coming. Thank you all for coming. We're gonna go to church now. All right. So.
And that music will continue.
And it will only get more lively. Yeah. This is just the practice. So they should be really, really ready to go. All right. Thank you all for coming. All right. We'll see you in a little bit. All right.